Hey guys, Brooksy Tech here, and today I got another quick video for you showing off kind of a weird motherboard that I found on eBay that sparked this mini ITX project that I've been working on recently. So before I get into the motherboard, I'll kind of just go over some of the other stuff I got. So I got just a basic 60 gig SSD that I've had for a while, and then it just takes DDR3, so there's just two sticks of 2 gigabytes that'll total up to 4. And then I have this old this Pico PSU that I've had for a while, just from another project that never really panned out. And then here's the power brick for it. I think this one is 5 amps. It's kind of hard to see, but that should supply, I can't see, but that should supply about 72 watts if I'm doing my math correctly. And then this old M350 case, I like them because they're small. I got this on eBay for pretty cheap. It didn't come with any of the cables or anything, but I had these kind of jumpers lying around, so that should work fine for like the USB and stuff. But the kind of the real highlight of this video is I found this ITX motherboard on eBay. It was going like for I think 35 bucks or so, and it came with the cooler, no processor. But it is socket Intel 989, which is actually a laptop socket that ran on the first Core i series. So those are like the i3, i9 for the first generation. And I do have an i5 520 in here, but here's just a kind of an i3 I had bought to originally test it out. As you can see, it's got pins, but it's just really weird socket. It's not super fast. The pass mark score on this 520, it's a dual core 4-thread. I think it's about 1700 or so, which is, you know, fast enough for Linux or something. But this was from I guess some kind of an industrial board is what they would call it. The actual BIOS, like boot screen, says it's for like Sonic Foundries, which I think is like they make audio processing, like kind of hardware for like recording studios and stuff like that. So kind of interesting. But anyways, yeah, let's take a look at the motherboard itself. One nice thing is if you wanted to use this for like a PF Sense box, this would be perfect, especially because both of those NICs are Intel, and I know that's kind of the preferred kind of the controller for the Ethernet. If you need 2 ports, Realtek, they say stay away from that. It's got your standard VGA, DVI, HDMI. I know kind of one annoying thing about this board itself is it has like a laptop header here, and it wants to default to the laptop screen, at least in Linux. And you know, it can be kind of a pain to boot because you're like booting plugged into your monitor and it's like defaulting to Linux. But anyways, it came with this cooler. It kind of mounts just your standard, 4 screws. It's got a PCI slot. I think this is Gen 2. I did try booting this I have an NVMe adapter with a SSD plugged into it. And the problem is sometimes it's not recognized. Then you just got your standard 24 pin. There is no 4 or 8 pin for the CPU because it is a pretty low voltage CPU. But then you got 5 SATA here, and then kind of your heatsink. It's the Q57 chipset, which I do think you can find on some standard size motherboards. And then unfortunately this is just PCI E. It's not mSATA. I did try booting it off an mSATA and it wasn't recognized. So if you do find one of those rare kind of older cards, it would work. But this is probably more for like a Wi-Fi card. But yeah, kind of an interesting motherboard. And then on the back side, it does have a compact flash slot, so I think it'll boot off that as well. So kind of just one thing to keep in mind. But definitely a interesting build, but I'll get it all put together and kind of just show you playing some Linux games. That's probably what I'll do mainly with it, is just make like a retro Linux gaming machine out of it. But yeah, so let's get it put together and then I'll show you some games. One last thing I did forget to mention about these socket 989 G1 CPUs. That is the socket, kind of the unofficial Intel name, or I guess official, but they have what's called the Iron Lake integrated graphics. So one of the cores is the CPU, and one of these cores is the integrated graphics. And the integrated graphics is pretty slow, so that's kind of a bummer for you know, playing games, but you know, fine for like old school Linux games or games that are ported to Linux. And then I do have the cover for this, so kind of close it up and make it look good. So, all right, let's get on to the build. All right, and here it is all put together. You know, nice little compact system. So got the SSD here and got that plugged in. Nice with the short cable so it doesn't take up too much space. And then here's kind of like the front header panels, the USB cable. Got that tucked nicely in the Pico PSU is routed here to the back. Let me take a look at the back here. Kind of a bummer not having the IO shield, but you know, I'll see if I can make one or kind of just fill it in with something. And then here's where the power plugs in here in the back. And then kind of just a, you know, plain front, which I like. You know, not too much bling going on. And then this LED lights up blue if you want it plugged in. But yeah, I'll do one final shot with me trying out a couple games that work well on this. Like I said earlier, this mainly is for like retro games on Linux, like Doom and Quake and stuff. And I do have Doom 3 on here, but it's playable at lower resolutions, but it's definitely not the preferred way to play it. But you know, it's kind of a fun thing to test out. But yeah, so let's go to that and then I'll finish up the video. So here's Doom 3 running at 1280 by 720. So if you bump the resolution down, you can see I'm getting about 25 frames a second in this scene. But you know, if there's a lot going on, you go into a different room, the frame rate can definitely slow down a little bit. Like now it's showing 30, so definitely playable, just dependent, you know, if you turn the settings down, and you can disable the bump, like where all the textures are like flat and there's not a lot of detail. But yeah, so I mean, it's good for just kind of for messing around. But let's close out of this and then check out another game. And hard to beat the original classic that started it all. You know, the first Doom, as you can see, it runs just fine. Sorry, kind of hard to do this one-handed. But yeah, so, you know, great for playing some classic games. And then you can definitely, if you want to put some emulators on here, it would run, you know, kind of like Super Nintendo, probably even up to like 64 and PlayStation just fine. I think PS2 might be a bit of a stretch, and kind of some of the GameCube emulators, but you could definitely probably play some of the games on there. But yeah, this is a fun little project. I do think I'm going to upgrade this with a cheap Ryzen, or not Ryzen, but like a cheap AMD AM4 build, as I did just get a ITX motherboard for that. But yeah, I had a lot of fun messing around with this, and if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Thanks guys, bye.